What is a leftist? What is a rightist? I think the difference between the left and the right can be defined and pretty much summed up in one word: progress. I'd say that the first leftist probably lived around 5 or 6 or maybe even 7 or 8,000 years ago. At that time, the human species, we were hunter-gatherers. We lived in the woods, we hunted animals, we gathered fruits. Around that time, there was somebody, could have been a man, could have been a woman, that had the idea that rather than tracking down animals with their bare hands, they ought to sharpen sticks and rocks and use them to hunt animals. And shortly after that, there was somebody else who had the idea that they ought to pay attention to the way that fruits are growing and the way vegetation is growing so that they can make their hunting and gathering more effective. And for a while, that made hunting and gathering even more effective than ever before. People were hunting and gathering very effectively with their spears. They were gathering the fruits very effectively. But pretty soon, we human beings, because of our innovation and our brilliance, we got to be so good at hunting and gathering, there was a scarcity. And at that point, it became necessary to domesticate animals and to start growing our own food. And it was with the dawn of agriculture that humanity had its first social revolution. Now, that's not a political revolution like Bernie Sanders talks about. That's a social revolution. The old order of hunting and gathering was overturned, and the new order of feudalism, landowning, the empires of Mesopotamia, Egypt, Greece, and Rome came into existence. Let's fast forward now a few thousand years. 1455. Around that time, Johannes Gutenberg started putting into practice what at that time was a cutting-edge piece of technology, the printing press. Now, a lot of people say Gutenberg invented the printing press. It was actually the Koreans who invented it much earlier, but he started putting it into practice in Germany. And around that time, at first, the old system of feudalism, they thought that was great. They thought, hey, this is great. We can print our little village Bible. Every little town can have its village Bible. We can print indulgences. It worked out pretty well. But soon, the rising power of the printing press, the freedom of information, and the wealth created by the Silk Road and trade with Asia, and the rising power of the mercantile classes, all combined into a gigantic social explosion. Once again, the brilliance and creativity of the human mind, employed to serve the existing social order, pushed the wheels of history into motion and brought down the very order that created them. As feudalism, kings, queens, slaves, and serfs became outmoded, capitalism and the rule of factory owners and businessmen emerged in another earth-shaking social revolution. Each advance in human civilization begins first with a revolution in technology. The technological revolution advances the productive forces and makes the old social system impractical. A struggle emerges, and the result is a social revolution in which a new system is created and a new class of people come into power. In France, when the king was overthrown in the French Revolution, the new government that they created had a national assembly. And the more conservative sections that wanted to accommodate with the old system of feudalism, they sat on the right. But the more radical sections that wanted to march triumphantly into the modern world, they sat on the left. And that's where left and right came into existence. That's the origin of the terms. Our American Republic is very much the result of anti-feudal revolutions that shook Europe and created capitalism. The founders of this country and the authors of the Constitution absolutely had their flaws as racists, slaveholders, slaughterers of native people. But the principles that they espoused back in 1776 were some of the most advanced revolutionary ideas around at that time. They put forward concepts like human rights, freedom, liberty, democracy, ideas which were cutting edge, bold, and radical for the period in which they lived. The founders of this country felt that the British Empire was robbing the colonists, exploiting them, holding back their ability to move forward. They rallied the population to break the 13 colonies away and create an independent country. Well, let's fast forward to 2017. Just as in 1776 the working people of this land were being robbed by the British, I would once again say that the people living on these shores are still being robbed. Anyone here from New Jersey tonight? Secaucus, New Jersey used to be the home to one of the biggest pig processing plants in the country, right? Thousands and thousands of people were hired to work in a pig processing plant. They got good union wages. They processed the meat Well, that pig processing plant is closed down. What do we have today in Secaucus? We've got the largest Walmart in the tri-state area. Walmart is almost an emblem of the age we are living in. Low wages, short-term employment, and stores shelved with products manufactured all over the world, in a global high-tech economy engineered to serve a few billionaires in Wall Street and in London. I understand that even Walmart is actually having some problems these days, and that stores are closing down because the online retailers are putting them out of business. If you think things are just randy-dandy here in the United States, take a walk through Detroit, once the prosperous Motor City. Take a walk through Pittsburgh or Cleveland, once the homes of the prosperous steel industry, where thousands of patriotic Americans worked, got paid good union wages to live their lives. So many American neighborhoods are now filled with empty, foreclosed homes. So many young people are realizing that they'll never have the standard of living anywhere near what their parents had. And while the job opportunities are fading away, what we see is a growth of the police state. The NSA is tapping our phones. The feds are kicking down doors. Police are killing people and getting away with it. And the prison population is growing. The high-tech dark age is unfolding before them. A generation of young Americans is consumed by depression, drugs, and hopelessness. Suicide is up. Heroin addiction and overdoses are at their record levels. But while life is getting worse for average Americans, a small group of people is doing pretty well.